Good evening. I wanted to talk about something else very briefly, and it's about pain medication. I had a case in Montana today. I appeared virtually on Zoom, and we were basically told that we wouldn't be allowed to say anything. We just had to sit there and listen. Now, I did not know or plan to speak, but I did object to the proceeding because the proceeding didn't allow us supposedly to speak or say anything, and the person making the presentation in our presence was getting, in my opinion, facts wrong and an emphasis wrong. And I thought the complaint that they were considering was frivolous, and I thought the only reason we were there was because Dr. Ibsen, who's my client, had the nerve to actually be critical of the medical system, particularly as it applies to chronic pain patients. Now, my view of the First Amendment is free speech without something else is free speech. And the only free speech worth hearing is robust free speech, because what else are we talking about? And if as a society, having made the First Amendment to the Constitution, the freedom of speech, you would think we would understand that we consider that very important. So that's part of it. You can't be using these proceedings as a reprisal. And Dr. Ibsen has been chased for more than 13 years, and none of these cases have been upheld, and they seem to come at or about the time he's speaking publicly on the issue. So this just cannot be suffered in silence. So we did have some words, and they did let us speak, and after some argument, they permitted me to make a statement. Now, I'm not going into the details because I want to respect those parties that were not allowed in the room and so forth. But when I've lectured, I have said to people that justice is a coincidence of the system, not a consequence of it. And we increase the situation to a point of Fifth Amendment due process, fundamental fairness, when we allow people to say their piece at every critical stage of a proceeding. And the proceedings for everyone in Montana are not written that way. And it's not the only place that this is true. So when I say it's a coincidence in the case, my view is I tried to make the coincidence equal to what I think is justice in the specific case. And so as a result, we filed papers that explained our position, and then we said we wanted to argue them at the hearing, and that we did get an opportunity to do so. And at the end of the proceeding, the complaint was dismissed, as it should have been. So, what's my beef? My beef is that everybody should be entitled to an opportunity to know what the charges are, think Kafka, and be able to respond. Simple. It's very simple. And when the Constitution guarantees life, liberty, and property, that's what they were talking about, a property interest. The Fifth and the 14th Amendment, they either mean something or they don't. And this is not just the Trump administration. This is a problem that we see across the country. And it comes from the chaos that has been in the foothills of our republic since 2015 for certain. And I think some could go back decades before that, but it showed us its unruly head at that time. So where do we go from here? Well, I've already talked more about it than I intended to, but each of us, particularly those who are pain patients and the people who know them and care about them, have to say to every person, every doctor that they deal with, every elected official that they deal with, that this, with an aging population and all the things that we are enabled to survive longer, we have to be aware that pain is an element of treatment. And we have to give people a chance to discuss these things and not treat the state of art of medicine what it was 10 and 20 years ago, when it's changed for the better. We constantly hear, oh, we're going to stop fentanyl. And in this case, there was a question about fentanyl, and there was no evidence that fentanyl was used. But you see, when it is used, it is an important pain medication. I had a gallbladder procedure, and I couldn't tell you how much, but there was like a drop, or I don't know the amount. But it had a calming effect. Not an exhilaration, it's not a recreational judge, not in that context. And it is used in that way. So when you say somebody has fentanyl, are you saying that a doctor is prescribing it? Or are you saying that people are making it themselves and carrying it across state lines? So very different things. And is it coming from labs that are saying that what you're really getting is oxycodone, and it's not oxycodone, it's fentanyl, and you don't know what you have, and it's not a pure batch, and people are suffering? We have to keep these two tracks separate. I think DEA and others much rather prosecute these cases because they're not going to get shot in the ass. They could, they don't have to risk the criminal element. They go to a doctor's office and say, oh, I think you've given too much medication, so I'm going to prosecute you. We're going to challenge you. We're going to question your license and so forth. That's the state of play. So, for those of you out there in pain, I want you to know that Dr. Ibsen had a victory today, whether it's a small or a large victory in the sense of this nonsense we hope will stop. I don't know that. But when you can kill a case in the cradle, that's helpful. But, doctors treat so many patients, it's a problem. And it's a problem increasingly because we baby boomers, I knock on wood, I don't presently have this pain. And if you do get it and you use the medication, the medication doesn't work for everybody. It makes them uncomfortable and so forth. Holly, as you know, had a double lung transplant. She doesn't have any pain medication, but the side effects of different medications makes it different. And so you become, in Holly's case, you become like a chemical laboratory, and we have the greatest people helping us, the task force on on her double lung transplant. And so that's one category, and maybe it's not fair to transport it to others, but if you're in another category and you're concerned about pain, you should keep in mind that what we're really talking about is a similar problem. And in some minor cases, it can be certain exercises and sleep and food and all sorts of things. In other cases, it might be marijuana, medical marijuana. And if it's more severe, then and it's acute, a short time, maybe a Percocet. But then it can be more than that. So those of you who know pain and know people in pain, you know what I'm saying is true. So I wanted to mention that because it gives hope to people who both know and care about Dr. Ibsen, but they know themselves that this is a problem, a challenge to them. All the best.